Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I am Abe with MysticGenMara.com, a small town mystic from the middle of Idaho, and today I would like to offer the elemental energy reading for water for the month of February 2024. I read intuitively, so the messages that come through are unique and they're what my guides have brought into me to pass on to you. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video if you enjoy this type of content, and comment below what your thoughts are. And we start off with a hexagram from the I-Ching, and I have already cast the hexagram beforehand because it takes a minute to do that, so that's set up for us. And if you're interested in any of the books or cards I'm using, they are linked in the description down below, and clicking through those links helps support the channel if you're interested. And we start with hexagram 18 for water, and it is decay. Decay augurs sublime success and the advantage of crossing the great river or sea. What has happened once will surely happen again, literally 3 days before the commencement, 3 days after the commencement. So, there's a couple of little footnotes. Let's see what they have to say here. And okay, so when it says crossing the great river or sea, it's your journey or going forward with your plans. So there's some things that may not be going so great with what you've got planned this month. And the other one was the time period, 3 days before, 3 days after. It would have been hard to make sense of these words were it not that Confucius commentary on the text clearly explains. So we'll read that again with a little bit the little additions there, because I read the commentary or the texts once I'm on stream. So decay augurs sublime success and the advantage of crossing the great river or sea. So these are your big plans that may need to be delayed a little bit. What has happened once will happen again, and the reference is 3 days before or 3 days after when you start the plan. So if something happens that maybe slows down your success, your plans, the things that you want to do, give it a minute, because it's not settled. It's kind of like an earthquake. There's aftershocks, and that's what they're showing me is coming in with this one. Is things may not be the greatest right now, so it could be a better option to slow down and not attack your big plan, your great river or sea at this moment. So just don't be too lazy, because the decay part is where things being slow mess up, but don't go too aggressively either, because you've got a 3-day, and this could be a literal 3-day, or it could be sets of 3 going on that may be messing things up a little bit. So let's start with our foundation line. Sorry, it's on 2 pages, of course. Let's see. I'm just checking one thing, sorry. So the bottom line says, children, this line right there, your foundational line, children exist to rectify the mistakes, and my fingers don't want to bend that way, wrought by their fathers, hence the departed are made free from blame, trouble ending in good fortune. So the things that your parents may have done, that's their issues, and if you are carrying that forward, what this is saying is this is going to be part of the trip up. There may be something, it could be a thought pattern, poverty mindset, things like that, that it's not necessary to carry forward. So the mistakes, let's go back here. Children exist to rectify the mistakes of their fathers, hence the departed are made free from blame, trouble ending in good fortune. When you understand that your life is the decisions of your soul, but also the decisions of the people who brought you in, your parental mother line and your father line. And there's been a lot of talk lately, especially in the metaphysical community, about how when you heal yourself, you heal your genetic line on paternal and maternal energy, which trouble is the problem of going through the healing process but it ends in good fortune. So part of what you have to clear up before you can cross that great river, work with your goal towards your goal, is clearing up some of the poverty mindsets, the relationship negativity mindsets that your parents brought in. That doesn't mean what they did was right, wrong, or indifferent, but you have an opportunity to fix the problem now, and the trouble of going through fixing it is actually going to be hugely beneficial to you. It will be a little bit to them, but it's going to be more so to you. So our second place line, assuming responsibility for the mistakes of our mothers cannot be too serious. When you assume responsibility for the mistakes of a parent, that doesn't mean you made the mistakes. It means you're going to clean it up. It doesn't have to be something super serious, like you have to go to them and shake your finger and be like, you did this wrong. Energetically going through the process, releasing the guilt, the shame that may have been subconsciously placed on you, that it doesn't have to be heavy. In reality, when you do the maternal paternal line healings, they're saying maternal in this one specifically, it actually frees you. So this month is really about, so far, healing, taking a break from direct dive at your goals, but processing through some stuff that may be coming up just in the wash, basically. Our third place line is making ourselves responsible for the mistakes of our fathers involves regret but not much blame. The mother's part is usually done through compassion and sympathy. It's usually not as aggressive. That's why it's saying assuming responsibility for the second line is not too serious. It's something you can process generally easily. Making yourself responsible for the mistakes of the father involves regret, not much blame. Men, as a rule, the masculine energy does not share when there's an issue, whereas the feminine tends to be a little more open with it. That's the reason you can't take it too seriously. You can kind of process through it. But when the masculine has the father's mistakes, you have to understand the regret that comes with not being able to succeed. That's the masculine coming forward with, I'm not good enough, oh no, and that's that regret. And so there's some regret there, but the blame doesn't fall on you. It's the regret of not being able to succeed. But was that person's life successful? Was that person's life helpful and healing in a certain way? Did it teach you certain things? There's not a lot of blame to go against a person's nature. If you go against the nature, then there's some blame. But the masculine has a big problem with not acknowledging when they are not good enough, but that eats at them inside. And that's that regret part. So don't blame people for what's going on. Try to understand it and work through the regret and the possible trauma, depending on how it's coming up. They're showing me that that's a minor issue that may come up with this. So your fourth place, tolerating the mistakes of our fathers would occasion us regret in the course of time. This continues on with the previous one. The masculine doesn't show their feelings, their emotions, and the issues, so they hold it inside, forms into regret. It comes into the shadow, being very powerful. This fourth place line is saying tolerating the mistakes of our fathers would occasion us regret in the course of time. If you just allow the shame, regret, the things that you know are buried there, you may have seen them, you may have been exposed to them at some point, and you don't actually process it on your own, through your own energy field, that's tolerating the mistakes. That's going to create regret within you as well. So this feels a little bit heavy water, but it's saying that this month is really about cleaning out your genetic lineage so that you can move forward. You've got great big plans. There's a lot going for you, but right now it's time to clean house. So that's where we're going with this. And not tolerating. In other words, they have their mistakes. Why are you perpetuating them? Process it through, understand where you are, and let it go. That's the big part of this one. So let's look at the fifth place line. Assuming responsibility for the mistakes of our fathers will win us praise. This is that healing process. You're not taking on their mistakes. You're taking on the energetic responsibility. Therefore, you can heal, release, and move beyond what that was. There's an old saying, standing on the shoulders of giants, you touch the sky. You have to go through the process of understanding what happened, why it happened, healing through it, and then you can step forward. When you trip and fall, you always get up ahead. This is that tripping and falling. When you trip and fall, you learn the lesson, pick up your feet. And in this thing, you're understanding that mistakes of the past are not what you want to carry forward. So you heal, you learn, accept the lesson, release the energy, and move forward. And that is where you win that praise. It doesn't have to be loud praise. Sometimes it's just one person noticing that you've grown is praise. So our capstone here is he does not serve the king or the nobles. What he does is even loftier than that. You're not here to fix your parents. You're not here to fix the world. You're here to fix you. You are here to understand your lessons in life. You do not bend the knee to a noble or a king because your calling is spiritual in nature. Your calling is healing in nature. So what is going forward is there's a lot of heavy healing that is going to be processed through this month, especially if you're open to it. Shadow work is an uncomfortable but necessary part of our spiritual journey, and we all go through dark nights, and you'll go through several. If anyone tells you you only go through one, they are lying. You will process as it comes up. This month, the theme so far, just from the I-Ching, is this is really working through some heavy family stuff. We have Valentine's Day, we have all these, St. Bridget's Day was the second, which is Imbolc. You've got all of these planning for the future, understanding the seeds of what you're planting. This is part of that planting process. You have to till the ground, take out the rocks because they're not beneficial, and fertilize. You're fertilizing with healing. You're taking out the blocks and the energy that's too dense and too heavy to drag forward with you, and it's not going to help support your future goals. Clearing this up, preparing your future garden plot, spiritually speaking, is going to allow you to accept the seeds you're planting when the harvest is available. So work through this process of letting go, processing genetic issues, any guilt or shame. And if you don't have to go talk to your parents about this. That's the beauty of doing spiritual work. You can literally go into your deep meditation, work with your guides, and clear this stuff out from that perspective. You won't get it all, but clear out what comes up, because that's what's available to be worked through this month. So let's look at the tarot and see if it can add any more clarity to the little bit of heaviness that's going on. If you're interested in any of the cards I'm using, they're linked in the description down below. There are approximately 4 weeks. We're starting the month on the 4th of February, so it gives you a solid 4-week base. And with that, I read a guide or a guardian, which is someone to guide you through the week, or a guardian to keep the less than pleasant away. A message from Source, which these are positive affirmations. These are supporting things that Source brings in. And then we look at a lesson or a challenge from the tarot. And it's a lesson as in something you need to move forward or process, a challenge, something that might be coming in you're unaware of. And you can use these for journaling prompts or however you want as well. But I work week to week at this point. Your first week's guide or guardian are the angels of learning experiences. This may be the first time you've ever had to or ever heard of processing through genetic substances, genetic issues. The learning experience is taking the break from your drive to move forward at your goals, because there's some things that aren't quite cleared up yet. The learning experience angels are coming in to help you understand the why. Well, why can't I do that? Because you have this situation coming up, and if you keep proceeding, you're going to repeat the same pattern that showed up in your parents' life. So the learning experience is to take that energy, process it out, clear it up, clean it, and then cancel it so that you can take the lesson, don't do that, and move forward with prosperity and abundance. So the first week's angels are really helping you understand the reason and possibly help you see the issue that comes up. So you've got a couple of different options with the energy that's coming up there. So let's look at your message from Source. It is enthusiasm. It may not feel like this is a enthusiastic message for the month of February. This is a little bit on the heavy side, but when you approach it with, I'm going to grow from this. By healing myself, I am healing the world around me. By fixing this from the past, I free my children and those who come behind me from carrying this burden. That leads to a very happy, enthusiastic, like, you know what, we can approach this with a positive attitude. It may not be fun, may not be pleasant, but by doing this, I'm going to clear things up, and it's going to be overall a benefit for myself, and as a ripple effect, a benefit for all of those that I'm in contact with. And so you can have a little bit of that enthusiasm towards life of, you know what, let's just get through this. Let's get it over with. Let's heal this stuff. Let's process, learn what we can learn, because once it's over, then I can move on. And so you have that little bit of a weird enthusiasm coming through as you work with these learning angels. Are going to help you understand the reasons and the enthusiasm to get through it so that you're not stuck with it. And that actually is kind of encouraging. Your lesson or challenge from the tarot is the Five of Winter. Walk away from dishonest associations, realizing what you thought you wanted isn't the best choice for your happiness, something that's not worth the effort. The Five of Winter, get my ring light out of the way. The Five of Winter is really saying, when you go through this process of starting to clear things up, you may have to remove yourself from situations. That doesn't mean that you have to purge your life of everybody who you felt has wronged you, because you'd have no friends. But what it's saying is dishonest associations. Those people who blatantly are telling you, oh, that doesn't work, or that's what we were supposed to do. At this point in time, it's advisable for this first week of February to step away. You're going inside to do work, which is not always the most fun thing in the world. That's where you have the angels and the enthusiasm coming in. But when you really understand the process, you can pick the right ones to bring back into your life. Sometimes when you go through that process, that person will take themselves completely out of the energy field, because as you've done the healing, you've let go, they can't. So it actually will, like a magnetic repulsion, drive them away. And it's not anything hatred or vile. There's just times for that to happen. So your lesson or challenge is knowing when to let something go, when to process it through. And they're also saying that this is a good time, as you're going through this process, of evaluating what is on your vision board. What are your goals? Because you may have set some goals because of bad energy fields that were brought in when you were younger. Now that you've gotten older, you're starting to process through this. Would your goals change if that was healed? And that's kind of what the Five of Winter is bringing in as well. There's this understanding of distance is necessary at times, but there's also, now that you've separated yourself and you're starting to see things clearly, what would change, if anything? So let's look at our second week guide or guardian. And if you have thoughts, comments, let me know in the comment section below. We have your second week's guide or guardian is forgiveness and understanding. Very apropos considering the energy we're working with. The first week is coming to terms and learning how to process, going through that enthusiasm of, by letting this go, I can move forward. It's freeing me, it's freeing those who come behind me, and it's helping those that have went before me heal as well. The forgiveness and understanding is when you go through that process, just like the first week, your challenge was knowing when to separate. The forgiveness and understanding is once you've got a bit more of a clear picture, can you understand why that pattern existed? Can you understand why that situation, when you look back to your parents, your grandparents, back as far as they can trace it, it's been a consistent pattern. You'll notice these things. And when you do, you can start to understand how your parents got the way they were, how their parents got the way they were. For example, if you had grandparents or parents who went through the Great Depression, or maybe you did, depending on who's watching the video, there was a mindset of lack and scarcity that was embedded in that generation. They save things. And there were times in my life growing up with around my grandparents where we would have to clean house, get rid of some stuff because it was just, oh, we got to save that, we've got to save that, we've got to save that. And it was like sour cream containers, cottage cheese containers, things like that, because you never knew if you're going to run out. So you'd have to go through these about every couple of years and purge all the stuff because you had too much. Understanding why that would happen is part of this healing process. And then once you understand it, you can forgive it. And that doesn't mean you have to go to the person and, I forgive you for all of this. That could cause a lot of drama and fights you don't need. But in meditation, you can call out to their higher self, their higher consciousness, and offer forgiveness. The forgiveness is for them, but it's also for you. When you forgive, once you come to an understanding of things, and you can do it without the understanding, it's just a little easier when you have that. And once you forgive, it releases the energetic burden that you're carrying. Guilt and shame, same concept. When you can release it through understanding and forgiveness, it goes away, and you'll still have the lesson, don't get me wrong, you'll still have the memory of it, but the emotional and energetic trigger is lessened, if not removed completely. So those are the angels that are coming in for the second week, is to help you understand the process of what you're going through, why these things happened, and then being able to let go and forgive through the process. So your message from Source is stillness. You can't make these up. Stillness is what is necessary to come to an understanding. In the quiet part of meditation, when you're processing through what is happening, you've seen the pattern that has been building, and you can allow forgiveness. When that happens, the turmoil, the frustration, the energetic chaos that may be swirling around you like a tornado stills. It's calm. It's peaceful. You are doing this work this month to find peace, to find stillness, and to find healing. The message from Source is, when you start feeling like you may be overwhelmed by any of this type of, even if you're not doing deep work, you may start to feel overwhelmed. And there's times you feel overwhelmed and you can't figure out why. Going to a point of stillness, quieting the mind, bringing your mind to a focus on a candle flame, bringing your mind to a focus on a mantra, especially the ancient Hindu mantras. The most common one is the Om, the OM sound, or AUM if you're saying it phonetically. Going to a point of stillness where your only focus is one thing, it brings you to a place of quietness that allows you to quiet the storm, quiet the emotions and the frustration. So that's what we're working with. That's the message from Sources. Find that stillness, find that quietness in the middle of the month, or the middle of the week. The middle week of the month. I can't even talk today. So we'll look at your lesson or challenge. This is Major Arcana energy, and in this particular deck they call it the Dreamer. In traditional tarot, it's the Fool. New things are coming in, but you have to make room for them. You have to be in a situation of mentally okay with the new. If you're like most water, especially the Piscean energy, change is inevitable. They don't like it at all. The more things change, the more frustrated it is. But you're in the water. Water changes. It doesn't stop. If it stops, it stagnates. So the Dreamer, the Fool, is saying, this week is about clearing things out. You have a great deal of new energy willing to come in. It's knocking at the door, bang, bang, bang. But you have to have room for it. And you're going through this work. You're forgiving, you're understanding, you're coming to a point of stillness. In that point of stillness, you can see the better. You can see the blessings of moving forward, and you can start to see your goal manifest in a much more interesting way than what you thought originally. But there's new stuff coming in, but you're on a new path. We're doing the work to clear things up, and when that happens, it's going to help reset where you're at in life and set you on a different path. And that's the gift of the Dreamer. They're moving down a path. Their goal's up here. Looks a little suspiciously like the Tower because you're always going to, your goal's going to adjust as you grow. And that's the message with this card is you're starting things off. Don't trip yourself up by, in the traditional one, there's a snake biting his heel. That is your history that's catching you. In this one, you've got a puppy trying to trip you. So don't let your history trip you up going forward. So our lesson, or our guide or guardian for the third week is the earth and ground. Going through the amount of intensity that the first couple of weeks of February are calling forward, these angels are coming forward. This is like Archangel Uriel, Archangel Sandalphon. We're working with the more grounded energies. These guys are coming here to help you settle everything down. When you process, it can really destabilize your emotions. And this third week is we're bringing in healing, we're bringing in grounding and calming energies. They're showing me working with obsidian, black tourmaline, granite, very stable, very grounding energies. And you can work with quartz, but add it to those other stones. And working with amethyst as well is a way to help stabilize some of those more intense energies. Doing things like Epsom salt baths, helping drain off the energy. This third week, you've done a lot of internal work, you've processed a lot. This third week is, now it's time to anchor. You clear things out, you make space, now it's time to come back to yourself. The second week was talking about coming to a point of stillness. This one is, now that you come to that still point, you're bringing in the energy and anchoring yourself. That's the earth and grounding. And the other part is, and you don't have to go outside if you're like in the northern areas where it's cold, but take your shoes off when you get home, take your socks off, and just run around barefoot. That helps ground even if you're not touching dirt specifically. It's way better if you can touch dirt, but even taking your shoes off just in the house and being barefoot allows some energy to drain off, and that helps ground you and connect you to Gaia. So your message from Source is solitude. When you're earthing, you're grounding, you're finding yourself in a more balanced and quiet state, you need some solitude. Doesn't mean you have to take days off at a time, although that would be helpful. But just finding those quiet moments to meditate, to journal, to allow yourself, and both genders do this, just one gender in particular, the masculine, tends to be more private about it. Give yourself the time to cry. Give yourself the time to laugh. Give yourself the time to reminisce about things and then daydream. But you do that best when you're in solitude. So take time this third week to be alone, even if it's only for 15-20 minutes. But they're saying like that's the reason the baths are so nice, is you are alone. You put on some nice music, light a candle or two, soak in some Epsom salts with some essential oils or however, and just be in the moment. Be alone for a time. If you have a spouse, have them take the kids, the dog, whatever, go somewhere else for a little bit, give me a minute. But that's what is coming up. So our lesson or challenge is the 9 of Spring. Protect the fruits of your labor, prepare for possible challenges that lie ahead. So you're working with this concept of this challenge, or the lesson is you're protecting what you've built. You have a lot of things that you've set in place. You have a lot of things that you've been planning, growing, putting energy and effort into. This month is about helping to clear stuff out so you can fortify what is important to you. This third week, you're grounding, you're getting more in tune with yourself, with your goals, connecting into Source in a deeper way. The 9 of Spring is now you've done a lot of this. The grounding part is letting you stay in the moment. When you clear stuff out, if you don't refill it with something more positive, nature hates a vacuum, some of that stuff may eke back in. So when you're protecting the fruits of your labor, you've done the work to process through the guilt, you've processed through the energetic sludge, and now you've got a free, clean energy field. Bring in that source energy, bring in that grounding energy so that there's not room for that negative energy to move back in. So let's look at our 4th week's guide or guardian. And this one's a little bit heavy water, so I do apologize, but I'm just going with what the cards are saying. So we have, for the 4th week, we have the angels that are do your work. And they're showing me that this is working with Archangel Metatron, working with some of the Ascension angels, even Archangel Gabriel and Michael to a lesser point, but Gabriel, Metatron are the big ones that come forward right now. Because going through this process this month is setting you up for success. These guys are coming in the last week to help anchor the work that you're doing, to help anchor yourself in the moment so that you can see clearly what has happened in the past, what's happening in the future. You're you're preparing yourself for the next steps. This month has been about cleansing, cleaning, healing, refreshing yourself. This last week, you're stepping up because you've done that. And now you're getting ready to move forward. You're ready to cross the great sea. You're getting ready to cross that great river. Your plans, now you're ready to take that next step. Now you're ready to do the work on moving forward. But you had to do some looking back and clearing things from the past, getting some of that baggage off your shoulders before you could do that, because they're showing me that, like, going across the river and falling in because you're carrying too much crap and drowning because you give up on your mission, and that's why you had to work through, clean up, and process that energy so that you could move forward. So let's look at our message from Source. Stability: earth, air, fire, water, light, dark, sun, moon. When you come into balance, because you've done the work previously, it allows you to take those next steps in confidence. The energy of stability, the energy of doing the work, means you can step forward confidently knowing, I've done my work, I've cleaned things up, I'm in a better headspace now than what I was, and I have healed through grief, I've healed through shame, I've healed through the past that I'm ready to work through at this moment. And that gives me a new sense of balance, a new sense of stability. When you start to process this stuff, you start to come to that conclusion that, there's a lot of things that happened in my life that I was going on autopilot because this is what I was told, this is what I was programmed, this is what I witnessed. I took on things that were not my own. This month of February is about seeing the things that aren't yours, releasing them back to the person healed so that they can process through on their part. When you heal yourself, you heal your line back, your parents, grandparents, and going on, ancestor line, but you also heal the future, your children, your descendants, the people you work with, the people you train. When you can get to a point of stability within yourself, this doesn't happen overnight, and it's probably you're going to have a lot of these points where you get destabilized, you come back, that's just life. But when you get to those points of stability, it allows you to see clearly both directions, what you've learned, what you have to teach, what you've experienced, what knowledge you have to pass on. That's stability, that's coming into balance. They're showing me Libra energy for some reason, so if you have a Libra in your life, pay attention to them this 4th week. Let's look at the lesson or challenge from the tarot, see what the fairies have to say. And we have the 7 of Summer. No more procrastinating. Your power comes from making decisions. Confusion arises from overanalyzing options. The 7 of Summer is literally the best way to sum up this month. You've done a lot of work. Now it's time to move forward. You have do the work angels coming in. You're working with stability because you have a new sense of grounding and balance. The 7 of Summer is saying use the lessons, use the knowledge, use the tools you have gained, and move forward. There's been a lot of things processing, and from looking back at previous videos and notes from them, this has been a very intense year, primarily for water. This month is saying we're getting really close to that success level at this point. There's a really big door that's about to open, and that can be different for every person. So again, take what works, leave the rest. But the 7 of Summer for this 4th week lesson or challenge is you've been putting things off because you've had to heal through a process. Finish that healing. That's the procrastination. Move forward. Do the work. You're in a new, stable, balanced environment. move forward. So the last week is all about moving forward and releasing the things that do not work for you any longer. So with that, we'll wrap up this reading. I hope you guys and gals enjoyed this. Like I said, drop a comment down below, let me know your thoughts, hit that like button, and subscribe if you're new here. And if you feel that someone might benefit from one of the videos that I make, go ahead and share that away. And I will talk to you guys in a future video.